Hi, this is Chef Alan Tatro with Global Sugar Art, and today I'm going to teach you how to make what I call a quick production rose. When I say production rose, I mean roses that you can produce a lot of quickly. And the reason I'm doing this video, if you look at this cake, the whole bottom is just covered in flowers, and there were just dozens and dozens of different kinds and sizes of roses. And as I was doing this, I was thinking there's got to be a way, if you're in production and you're making wedding cakes every weekend, that you can make nice, fully blown roses quickly and easily. So today I'm going to teach you my method of doing it. It's very similar to everybody else's method, but I take a few other steps in shaping the rose so that you get a nice full-blown rose with as few petals as possible. So let's get started. I've got some fondant all rolled out. And today I'm going to use two different cutters. There's the gem line of cutters that have the rounded edges. These are the 5-petal cutters. And then FMM makes a series of 5-petal cutters, and theirs have a little point in them. Both are excellent. They both work really well. They give you a slightly different look on the finished rose, so it's really your preference. The first thing we're going to do is create the bud, the center. Now these can be made out of fondant and hardened. You can mold them out of fondant and put them on a wire and let them harden and then make your roses. But it can really take a couple days for those centers to harden out of gum paste, especially if you live in a high humidity area. So I'm using what we call a cell bud. These are made by the Cell Cakes company, and they're a little styrofoam bud. For the largest rose, I'm going to use a number 18 wire. I'm going to cut that in about 3 pieces. Take a pliers and just bend the end over so you're making a little hook. Then using the bottom of the cell bud, just use a cell pin or something to poke a little hole in there. You want a fairly good size hole. And then I'm going to put a little hot glue in, right in the center. Stay. And then just put that wire right in there. Push it right in. And I can give that 5 minutes and it's ready to go. So what I do is I make a whole bunch of these ahead of time. I'll make dozens of these and have them ready. So whenever I want to make roses, they're ready to go. Let's get this out of the way. Okay. So we've got our paste all rolled out. Now on my pasta machine, and I really like using a pasta machine for production, you can roll out paste so much faster, and it's all the same thickness, and it just eliminates a lot of hassle of trying to spend all your time rolling with a little rolling pin. So I went right up to a number 8 on my pasta machine. Mine starts at 1, I brought it to 8. So if yours starts at 0, you can bring it to about a 7. The more skilled you are, the thinner the paste you can use. So if you're just beginning, maybe bring it up to about a 5. It's a little easier to work with a thicker paste, but as you gain skill, you can go to a very, very thin paste. Make sure that the surface you're cutting on is coated with a little cornstarch just so that this is nice and loose. Put your cutter over the top, press down evenly all the way around, and then move in a circular motion. And that's going to give you a nice clean cut all the way around the edges. And you'll know when it happens because it'll just come apart just like that. And then you have one 5-petal ready to go. And I'll do another one of these. Now sometimes with the cutters, especially with smaller flowers, if you turn them over, you'll see that they didn't cut the lines going into the center. So just use your finger and go over the top like that, and that will cut all the pieces separately. So what I would normally do is I would cut dozens of these out and put them under a piece of plastic just so that they don't dry. And then I put them in a Ziploc plastic bag or some sort of a plastic bag so that they stay as moist as possible. If I'm making a lot of them ahead of time, which I usually do if I'm doing a large project, I'll take a small piece of paper towel, dampen it, and just put it in the corner inside the bag. Make sure it's not touching the gum paste. That just adds a little extra humidity in the bag, and it keeps everything nice and soft and pliable. That's especially important where I live here. We tend to have very, very dry environments, especially in the wintertime. All right, so I'm going to now use some sort of a sponge pad. This is a cell pad. And I'm going to use a ball tool, and I'm going to thin the outside edge. Now, for the first petal that you put on the rose, which actually makes the bud, you don't want a lot of frill. You just want to soften that edge and thin it a little bit, but you really don't want a lot of frilling. And then you're going to cup the middle, and don't be afraid to press down. And then this is just a piece of foam. Sometimes you can find it in packaging. Actually, I often go to the hardware store and I look for small pieces of foam that they use for air conditioners. You can stuff them around window air conditioners, and it's a nice thickness and it's soft and it works great. So any piece of foam will work. So I'm just going to lay that just the way it came off the pad right onto my foam. And now I'm going to wet. I'm going to use water, not glue. Water works well with gum paste. You're not going to have a problem with it. Do the center, and for the first one, you're going to go up halfway. So wet halfway up. Don't use too much water. You just want them damp. You don't want the water dripping off. Now look at each of the petals. This is the right side. This is the left. Right, left, right, left, right, left. And stick to my fingers. You're going to go up the left side of each one. Almost to the top. So center, up halfway, and then the left side of each petal. This is just for the very first one. And my bud is firm on that wire. Put this right through the center. Now for the very first petal, I'm going to actually put water right up to the top. I'm going to take this petal, bring it up, and wrap it around. So you see I want a rather tight bud right on there. That was your first petal. Skip a petal and go to the second one. Again, I'm going to put water mostly to the top on that one. Only that left side has water on it. The right side doesn't. Wrap that one around and tuck that one in. And then just pinch. Now you have the center of the flower all made. Now we're going to add the other three. So starting where this single petal is, just bring that up, and you're going to tuck in that side right there. This one then comes up over that first petal. This one gets pressed in. This one goes over that one, and just tuck it right in there. And then I just take it out, I flip it over, and I just use my fingers to press it all together. Now here's where some of the magic happens in getting this to be a full-blown rose. I want these to be glued about maybe a third of the way up. So I'm just adding a little bit of water. Then I'm going to take the edge of my fingers and I'm going to roll this back. And that's going to start opening up that rose. The more open the rose from the beginning, the more full-blown the rose will look like at the end. All right, and that's all there is to it. That is the bud. You could put a calyx on this and use it just as it is on a cake. So if you're doing a large arrangement of flowers like I have here, you will find buds in the cake as well as full-blown roses. What I like to do is you can hang this, or for this first stage, you can just put them in a styrofoam and let them sit like that. So now for the second stage, I have some more all made. My paste got flipped over on me and I don't want to lose that petal. Okay, so for the next stage, same as the first time, you're going to thin them. You can make them a little bit more ruffly this time if you want. Roses aren't really, really ruffly, so don't go too much. Okay, now the change this time is we're going to flip this over. We're going to cup it. And we're going to flip it over onto the... What this does is it makes the petals pull away from the center rather than wrapping around the center. You want them to reach out this way, not be cupped over the center this way. It's a subtle difference, but it does make a difference in the final flower. Now I have one that I made about a half hour ago, and this is set up a little bit. You want to at least give them 10 or 15 minutes between adding petals. They're just easier to work with. So this time I'm going to put water in the center, and I'm going to go halfway up. And again, left side. And I did that wrong, didn't I? Yeah, there we go. Okay, left side. Now I'm going to put this through the center again. Where you see one of the petals coming down, you want that to align in the middle of one of the petals. You can always align it when you get to the bottom. And there's what it's going to look like. Now I'm going to bring up one petal, and I'm going to adhere that side. Turn it, bring up another petal, and adhere just one side. So I'm leaving that other side loose. That left side that we put water on is the side that I'm gluing down. When you get to the last one, bring that petal back, bring this one in, glue it in place, and then wrap it around. Adhere them all together. There, now that's a pretty tight rose. So what we're going to do is we're going to start opening this up the same way we did last time. We're going to just curl these edges all back. Now this time, I'm going to hang this rose upside down to dry for about 5 minutes before I add the next rose. So if you're doing production and you're doing a lot of roses, just make like 10 roses, all stage 1. Then start back with the first one you did, do stage 2. Add your next set of petals. Start back from the beginning and add your third one, and then you'll be done. And that gives each one of them time to dry. So there's the second stage. And we're going to hang that upside down. And I'll show you how to do the third stage. Same thing, just thin the edge. Turn it upside down, cup them, and then again turn it upside down. Now this time, water in the center and only 1/3 of the way up. You don't want the water to go up too high this time. And you're not going to do the left side this time. Just 1/3 of the way up each of the petals. We're going to make sure that last time one of my petals was not separated, so I want to just make sure that that's cut. And I'm going to take a rose that I did the other day. And that goes in the center. Now this is your last layer. So align one of the openings right in the middle of one of the other petals and flip it upside down. Now the only thing that you want to be concerned with this time is that each of the petals overlap properly. This petal overlaps this one overlaps this one, This one will overlap that one and right around, just like that. And after you have all those in the right spot, just pinch the bottom. Now we're going to do something very different this time. Using 3 fingers, or 2, however you want to do it, you want to pinch them together. Now the FMM cutter that I showed you has that little point on the end of each petal, and that's sort of your goal post. You're gonna pinch to that little point. Now, depending on how dry your environment is, how moist your gum paste is, this might stay immediately, or it might take a while to dry. And you can see that these are sort of floppy right now. So what I would do is I would hang this to dry. We'll come back to it in a minute. And maybe after you can see already, it's already holding its shape. I mean, sometimes it takes less than 2 or 3 minutes, and they'll hold their shape. And that is the final look that I want. That's the full rose that I want. I'm a stickler with these. I'll just keep going back and playing with them until I get them perfect. So I would hang that upside down. I'd give it 2 or 3 minutes, and I would go back and I'd pull those petals back one more time. I just want to quickly show you on the small FMM one, same process. We're going to just thin that, flip it upside down, cup it upside down on there, and I have one that has 2 stages on it. So 1/3 of the way up, because this is going to be the 3rd petal. Line that up, and then just flip it upside down. Make sure that they all lay correctly. They're all overlapping in the same direction, and they are. And these have the little point in them. When you look at a natural rose that's in full bloom, the petals curl back on the outside, and that's the look we're trying to get. So if we're to hold that open, that's what the flower will look like when it's done. And then just hang that upside down. Now for coloring roses, this color is really very popular this year. This is sort of a deep peachy gold. So I'm going to do the centers with a little darker and the outside with a little bit lighter. So I've chosen a citrine yellow. This is a peach, and believe it or not, carrot. So let's take one of the ones that we did. It's ready to color. I'm going to start with a little bit of the darker color. And then I'm going to put a little bit of the peach over that. And then the outside, I'm going to put the citrine. Now this flower is not completely dry, so it's a little harder to dust, but I wanted to show you what the dust will do. And that is the completed flower. And as that dries upside down, it'll hold its shape perfectly. So a little bit of luster dust, a little deepening the color in the center is really all you need to really sort of bring the flower to life. I find that if you just make the roses and put them on the cake, they don't have nearly the impact as if you add a little bit of color to them, and it gives them a little more lifelike look. One last note, you can add a green calyx. There are calyx cutters. When you're doing a large cake, and especially when you're working with large roses, the calyx never shows. So why bother doing a lot of work when you really don't need to? If I were using just this rosebud, I would definitely add a calyx to it, because when you look at that, you will see the bottom of the bud. So you want it to be finished. But on a large production rose, there's no need to at all. Actually, there's one I did yesterday and colored. And I think that's all for the production roses. Have fun. Thank you for watching. Again, this is Chef Alan with Global Sugar Art. All the supplies are available at globalsugarart.com. Have a great day.